New figures show the city's got the second highest concentration of fast food restaurants in the east of England. The BBC has found there are 63 outlets per 100,000 people. In the rest of Cambridgeshire, the figure is 48. Nationally, Peterborough is the 90th highest nationally out of more than 200 local authority areas. Our reporter John Devine's been asking people in the Fletton area of the city about their fast food habits.
Excuse me, have you had your lunch today?
No, not yet.
Are you having a takeaway?
No.
No?
No.
Have you never had a takeaway?
Yes, I have.
And is it a regular thing?
Once a month.
And what do you have for your takeaway?
A Chinese.
Saw you about to pop into the chippy.
Yeah, that's what we were going to do. We're going to have the chippy at lunch.
So how often do you go into the chippy or a takeaway shop generally?
Probably about 3-4 times a week.
Really?
Yeah,
How often?
Just at lunchtime, really, yeah.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 26.
Are you not worried about things, really? Like using them too much?
I do try, but then you try and think, what can I eat otherwise? You know what I mean? So you're just quite nice and quick. You've got an hour lunch, go get some takeaway and that, and you're back.
Takeaway, as in pizza from places like that, once a month, something like that. But
and do you think there's too many then in Peterborough?
Well, the trouble is it's quite a wide area, so you are always local to one. But whether there's too many, they'll obviously make business, otherwise it wouldn't be open still.
A couple of times a month.
Yeah. And what do you see it as? It's a treat, sort of thing, for the family?
Yeah. It is more of a treat.
Do you think anything should be done about it? You know, do you think council should refuse people the permission to set up takeaway shops?
I guess they wouldn't be there if people didn't want to use them.
No, supply and demand, I suppose, if people use them.
On a street like this, on High Street, I don't think we need any more.
Have you got your lunch today?
Yes, I have.
Did you go for a takeaway?
I did.
Did you?
I did.
And how often do you go for a takeaway at lunchtime or any time in the week?
2 or 3 times a week.
Do you? And what sort of things do you have?
Well, it tend to be like sandwiches, Subway, places like that, which are good, or the local Nisa, which do super pizzas and sandwiches to take away, which are super.
Yeah. Kebabs, chips, that sort of thing sometimes?
Yeah, chips at least once a week. Kebabs not so much.
No. And do you think there's too many takeaways?
No, I think we could do with more the merrier, really. You know, it all gives good competition to the shops and things. So why not? Bring it on.
Is it worried on the health side of it, health implications, eating too much takeaway?
I think it's personal. It's up to you. You know what's good for you. You know what's bad for you. If you have like a pizza once a week, which is fine, you just you pick and choose on your good and healthy takeaways. It's good and bad in everything.
So clearly an appetite for convenience food from those people in Peterborough. But since 2010, there's been a 32% rise in fast food outlets in the city. That's actually down on the national average, which is 34%. I've been speaking to Val Thomas. She's from the public health team at Peterborough City Council. I asked her what she made of the figures.
I think we're very much aware that it's a very complex issue, and it sounds very simple when we say, we'll talk about what you should be eating and perhaps you should be more physically active. Obesity is complex, and it's going to take a lot of wide-ranging interventions across the whole system.
Does the city have a policy to decide if new fast food restaurants should open?
I think, as I said just now, I think there are many things we need to be looking at. As yet, there aren't any policies in place.
Do you think there should be?
I think what we are doing going forward is looking at the evidence which is emerging about the impact of fast food outlets and looking what's happening in other areas and how effective any interventions have been.
Obviously, we have to think about the economy, and it is hopefully good for the local economy to have these businesses turn up. They're new employers in the area. But you've obviously got to balance that out with the health of the local population. And does that need to be put first?
I think you used the word there, balance. And obesity, health are both very complex issues. And whatever you do in one area can have a positive effect, or maybe it can actually incur some risks. So anything that the City Council undertakes will have to be weighed up very carefully and look at the whole spectrum of benefits and risks.
And when you're weighing that up, to sort of pardon the pun, do you look at the levels of childhood obesity? Because Peterborough has got issues with that, and some people might say that this propensity of fast food outlets is going to be connected to that.
I think I would say again that childhood obesity is a concern, as we know that children who do have an unhealthy weight will have a very high risk of becoming rather unhealthy in later life. So again, I think we would look at all the possible impacts on children and their families that could possibly contribute to this high level of unhealthy weight in Peterborough amongst children and families.
And obviously you've talked about the work going on to encourage people to eat more healthily. I mean, specifically, how are you trying to get that message to people in the city?
I think we have a number of services that we would work with individuals and communities, and also we have another service that works in workplaces. We work with schools. We work with partners. The NHS has its National Diabetes Prevention Programme, and part of that is identifying people very early at risk of diabetes, and obviously diabetes is associated with obesity. We've recently won some funding from Sport England to work particularly with children and families, very focused on families from disadvantaged backgrounds where we know that the risks are higher. But I think one thing we have to be very much aware of is that being physically active, eating healthily, has got many dimensions. They're social, they're economic, and they're also cultural. Eating and physical activities is very much embedded in culture. So we have to have a very sort of multifaceted approach and work with people in different ways and from where they are coming from.
That's Val Thomas from Peterborough's public health team. Joining us now is Sue Bradley. She's an eating psychology coach. Morning, Sue.
Good morning.
So we've heard how popular convenience food is. What are the main reasons you find people are going for that option?
Well, it's usually because people resent spending time shopping and preparing food themselves. And they've never really developed those habits. And so you get a lot of people who've never really sort of sat round to a home-cooked meal with the family. So hunger will creep up on them. You know, they'll be sitting working and suddenly go, oh, my goodness, I'm hungry. Oh, I haven't got anything to eat. I'll have to go out and get a takeaway then, because they haven't done that pre-planning bit. It's culturally become not the norm to do that. And I think that's something that we do have to go back to.
And demand is high, therefore the supply is high.
That's right, yeah.
And we're not trying to demonise this type of food. I absolutely love fish and chips or a pizza as much as the next person. But your message, I'm sure, is that it's everything in moderation.
It is, and it's also about cooking it more yourself. I mean, we spend more time watching celebrity chef programs than we do cooking ourselves these days. And I think people need to get back to that. Now, that said, I wouldn't want to demonise fast food, because the fast food outlets do provide a service to the community, particularly for people who may not have the advantage of having a lovely kitchen with lots of, you know, pans and freezers and things like that. You know, if people are living in substandard accommodation and things like that, then, you know, a fast food outlet is going to be their only option, really. So we don't want to demonise people for using them. But people do need to understand that shopping, you know, that eating food that you haven't prepared yourself, you're taking a risk. They're using industrial fats, they're using a lot of sugar. It's stuff that if you were cooking it yourself, you would never put that much stuff into it, and you lose control if you're always eating out of the house.
And actually, if you're someone with a sensitive stomach, you probably notice the difference between something you make yourself and then if you eat something that's a bit more processed or has maybe things in it to add it to its shelf life, you notice the impact it has on you. In terms of changing people's attitudes to these foods, we always say, oh, it's about education. But is that where it's lacking?
What's lacking is the education about your habits. There's lots of healthy food advice out there. You know, people will go and see nutritionists or dietitians and they know they should eat more fruit and veg, but they don't actually do it. So what's lacking is an education in actually changing your habit and changing what's culturally thought of as good or bad. And I noticed that a lot of people will use the word treat in conjunction with fast food, and I would more say that's a fail. Now, occasionally I'll eat fast food, and I consider that a fail because I haven't got myself sorted out and organised enough to have food that I actually want to eat. So, oh God, I'm going to have to eat a takeaway. It's a fail. It's not a treat.